Here are the top posts from whowouldwin on the 19th of October 2019.
Legend Tamer 47. Kratos versus the Egyptian pantheon of gods. Which gods would be the toughest to defeat?
Rakari. Kratos is getting old. His magic isn't as potent as before and he's having trouble clearing mooks in the latest game. Whereas he would have breezed past them in Greece. He only managed to take down two gods, Magni, demigod, and Balder, borderline suicidal and fated to die. That being said, the link you provided really makes the Egyptians look non-threatening. I'd say he plows through 90% in the first two games of the trilogy and struggles with Set. He looks burly, and Horus, Anubis, and Osiris, since they're relatively popularized in Western culture, so they'd get more spotlight. My money's on Ra being the top dog, so pretty much the toughest. Gryffindor. Why is everyone here forgetting Isis and Bast?
Philic. Bast, Bastard, and Sekhmet would be tough since they're basically gods of war themselves. They might be condensed into one being since multiple cat lady warrior gods would be seen as redundant. Or they could be a multiple boss fight. Set is known as an evil god and a god killer himself, so he would probably have some pretty serious punch. In the same vein, Horus has trained to fight Set for his whole life, so he'd probably be fairly tough. I choose to believe that Khepri would be devastatingly powerful, but that's mostly just because I love Wormisier. Still, I could see him using swarms and sun-based attacks, so that's no pushover. I'd love to see the fight against him involve lots of light and dark changes. From a massive swarm blocking out the sun with light primarily coming from Khepri's own attacks against you. Anubis is Lord of the Furries and one of the most popular gods. He would probably have a pretty serious fight. And Bark. I'm picturing the Thoth fight as being similar to fighting Mysterio in Spider-Man 2. The real challenge is getting to him throughout his maze of traps and inventions. The actual dude is kind of a pushover. Isis and Osiris are another candidate for a multi-boss fight. Or just Isis as Osiris is dead. Either way, the goddess of magic is probably a pretty skilled combat sorceress. Ra is king god and therefore toughest via video game logic. The other gods, it's a crapshoot as to who would even make it in. They mostly aren't well known enough these days. Imhotep has name recognition, but mostly as the Mummy. A few others have interesting designs that could up their odds. But any that make it in would probably not be as powerful simply because of the lack of fans in the modern Western world.
Lopt the Treacherous. The Lord Ruler, Mistborn, is transported to MCU Earth, who is the strongest person he can defeat. Come on guys, I'm trying. R1. I don't know too much about MCU other than casually watching the movies. But aside from reality warpers, does this include Doctor Strange? I think he pretty much stomps most MCU heroes, especially if they're unaware of what a fullborn can do, given that he has been compounding for 1,000 years. Not specifically stated that he's compounding all metals, but I'd assume so. He has the physicals to fight anyone. I mean Vin, who's a tiny little girl, flares pewter and headbutts an assassin, causing his head to explode. If Ella threw a punch at, say, Hulk, while tapping weight, speed, and strength, flaring pewter, and burning duralumin, I have no doubt he could cause a similar effect. He could push and pull Iron Man all day unless he had a suit of aluminum. Monsieur, he can burn Asham and see where any and all attacks are coming, and thanks to its effects will have the mental speed to understand and respond. Plus, even if he gets hit, he's been compounding gold for 1,000 years and it's specifically stated he's survived beheadings, explosions, being burned alive, etc. Honestly, a fullborn, given enough time and access to god metals, is going to be one of the stronger warriors in any universe that I can think of. R2. I don't think that losing Asham or Lerasium has much of an impact honestly. Ferushami can add mental speed, so despite not being able to see the future you still couldn't do things fast enough to get around the Li in terms of his seeing and understanding. Plus, as stated above, I don't know who has the physicals to fight him. I assume people will point out that Thor survived a star or something, but my thoughts are this. 1v1 Thanos big dicks pretty much every Avenger. Red Witch had him by the balls. But due to metal pushing and pulling, the LR always has far more access to ranged attacks than Thanos alone, so I think he's better equipped for this than Thanos anyway. And the LR would end thanks quickly. If you lose Asham and Lerasium, does that mean he gets cadmium and bend alloy? If so, he now has time warping. Plus whatever the Ferusham abilities are. Can't remember and don't think I need to look to stand by my assumption that he smokes most of the MCU. R3. Things change. Without the ability to compound, I don't think he can burn enough pewter to do enough damage to tanks like Thor or Hulk. Without being able to tap weight, I don't think he can effectively push Iron Man. Without the added speed of tapping steel, he won't be fast enough to blitz the upper tiers either. Does he have Asham back in this round? If so, maybe Spider-Man in his base suit. With one of the Stark suits I imagine even this would be tough. Mistborns are unreal, but nowhere near the level of Fullborns. We don't even know the extent of what Fullborns can do at this point. And what we've seen literally made the one we've ever known into a god for 1,000 years. Someone that knows MCU, please feel free to point out areas I may not be thinking. I often wonder about the power of Fullborns, so I'd be interested in continuing this.
Freelance Psychic. The Lord Ruler is broken up. He's a former god who can move at relativistic speeds, increase his strength to arbitrarily high levels, and psychically manipulate metals and emotions. No one in the MCU has the speed or durability to deal with him. He could pull Hulk apart with his bare hands, pull Iron Man out of the sky, drop satellites or skyscrapers on people. He can also see a few seconds into the future and arbitrarily increase his perceptive mental abilities. So it would be impossible for Doctor Strange to banish him in a surprise attack. Even if someone manages to tag him, he has regenerated from being burnt down to a skeleton in the past. And we have seen people with weaker healing come back from much worse injuries. His only weakness is that he knows exactly how strong he is and jobs really hard. He also loses most powers if you can get his bracelets off. There are only two people he might have trouble with. If he doesn't know what the stones do, Thanos could snap and just delete him. If he knows he would be able to speed blitz him and get the gauntlet himself, he certainly has the durability to use it. Scarlet Witch could rip off his metalmans, leaving him vulnerable. Historically, he doesn't expect anyone to be able to psychically manipulate his bracelets. But again, if he knows her deal, then he could drain all her emotions, leaving her powerless. R2 without god metals. The source of his precog. He kills everyone except Doctor Strange, who banishes him while he gloats. R3 Mistborns don't have the damage output to really challenge the heavy hitters here. He could possibly get Iron Man's suit off with Allomancy or throw his own missiles back at him, but otherwise he stops at people with Captain America level durability. His emotion magic is still a hard counter to Scarlet Witch.
Shukron. I think he gets stopped by Dormammu in Road 1.
Nintendo Game Boy. Mario and Sonic have switched places. Can they complete each other's respected games?
Sonic Tower. Mario definitely fails. Sonic has levels designed to use his speed and physics. Even if Mario gets a Tanuki suit, he still can't make the speed tests. Sonic I'd give 7/10. Not 10 out of 10 because I may be forgetting some challenges that only Mario can win. Sonic is generally more capable though.
Maya Kupuku. Don't know how Mario fares, but Sonic absolutely drowns on a water level. There are water levels that don't allow you to surface at all.
Mars Greek god. The coins work as rings for Sonic.
Morphin Brinny. Samus Aran, Metroid vs the entire Galactic Empire, Star Wars.
Samurai Bayonet. I mean, as far as I'm aware she would just juggernaut her way through anything put in front of her. The only slight issues she will have are Palpatine and Vader themselves. Extended universe versions are pretty intense. However, if this is modern canon, she just blitzes them easy.
Tripod 1. Well, Samus would just be a super fighter who would basically be recognized as their secret weapon to take important objectives, and probably sent to Obi-Wan to see if they has any way to teach her space magic, or kept as a secret and sent to medium difficulty missions to destroy even the most elite guards the Empire has. Maybe defeated by Darth Vader in a 1v1.
4N6. She's faster and stronger than a normal person, even without her suit thanks to the infusion of Chozo DNA. I think her wave beam would be one of her most valuable tools when going through the lower-ranked Empire goons. In their universe, blaster beams behave very predictably. Straight lines. Obviously, her being able to use that absolute curveball would probably be an important factor. Depending on how powerful the forces in Palpatine or Vader, they'd basically have to see her attack coming in order to stop it. I've never read any comics, so I'm only able to go off of movie feats, and neither of them were shown to stop projectiles, the way Kylo Ren was in Force Awakens. So in theory, they're getting shot. It also depends on how much of a threat she perceives them to be ahead of time. If she knows what they're capable of, she's smart enough to just avoid them and blow the place up with them inside. Her X-ray visor should ensure she can keep clear of them while planning the Death Star's destruction. And that's if she goes inside to infiltrate it, rather than just pulling a Luke and using her gunship from the outside.
Godzilla Raptor. Indiana Jones vs. Imhotep, The Mummy Returns movie.
Pandith Avenues Project. I feel like Jones is a near-identical but slightly more competent Frazier. Nothing changes. 10.
Warm Prophet. Indiana is a protagonist who specializes in that sort of thing. If this is movie physics, then Indy wins. If this is meant to be realistic, then obviously Imhotep takes over the world and makes an even bigger pyramid. Good job, Imhotep. Was it really worth all that trouble?
Ghost Gabe 81. Damn. I knew I shouldn't have procrastinated my Imhotep RT. Indy is honestly probably stronger and faster, but he can't really hurt Imhotep. In Egypt, there's nothing stopping Imhotep from killing him with a massive sandstorm or ragdolling him with TK. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.